A small island with a population of around 370,000 people was able to produce some of the best strongmen we have ever seen. In this list, I'm gonna show you who I believe to be top 12 strongmen from Iceland. Enjoy the video. Opening our list at number 12 is a very accomplished, equipped powerlifter Sigfus Fosdal. With the 1125 kg single ply total and a 207 kg log press, his strength is elite even at the highest level. After his transition from powerlifting to strongman, he managed to finish third in the Iceland Strongest Man twice. Finishing third doesn't sound very impressive. However, it has to be considered that the athletes who actually managed to beat him were some of the best not only in Iceland but in the whole world. In 2019, he was invited to the World's Strongest Man. Unfortunately, during the first event in his heat, the track pull, he tore his Achilles tendon and had to pull out of the competition. At number 11 in this list, we have Gunnnar Thorgudursson. He was a strongman competitor in the late 90s and early 2000s. He has won the title of Iceland's Strongest Man 3 times in 1998, 1999, and the year 2000. These wins led to him being invited to the World's Strongest Man. In his first and only appearance at the World's Strongest Man in 1998, he was slotted into a very tough group with the reigning World's Strongest Man champion Yoko Ahola and Hugo Girard. He wasn't able to qualify for the finals. His second invitation came in the year 2000. Sadly, he was unable to compete due to an injury. This injury prompted him to retire from competing in strongman. He shifted his focus on bodybuilding. The next entry on this list is Kristin Oskar Haraldson, better known as Boris Haraldson. Boris was the reigning Icelandic champion for 4 years, since 2005 to 2008. This qualified him to the World's Strongest Man competition. In 2005, during his first World's Strongest Man appearance, he was on the right track to make it out of his heat. However, in the track pull event, he was 100th of a second too slow. This ultimately made him miss out on the final by just half a point. The following year he was in a stacked heat, and despite his great performance, he failed to qualify again, finishing just 1.5 points behind the second place. In the 2007 World's Strongest Man, he had a chance to qualify, but had to withdraw before the last event, eliminating his chances to make the final. His last competition was Iceland's Strongest Man 2009, where he lost his crown, finishing second. Coming in at number 9, we have Aethor Ingolfsson Melstedt. Aethor is a relative newcomer to strongman, as he only started competing in 2018. Even though he's only been competing for a couple of years, he's making swift progress on the international level. I'm sure in a couple of years he will be deserving of a higher spot on this list. He has already competed in the World's Strongest Man twice. Despite this, he is yet to win his national title, finishing second 4 times. At the 2020 World's Strongest Man, he was in a heat with JF Caron, Graham Hicks and Bobby Thompson, resulting in him finishing fourth. Already at his second appearance at the World's Strongest Man, he managed to make the final, beating Robert Oberst in the stone-off. In the final, he took 10th place. At the 2021 Magnus vs Magnusson Classic, he broke the natural stone press world record, beating the record of his fellow Icelander set back in 2005 with a lift of 137 kilos. As he made the World's Strongest Man final in 2021, we can expect him to compete at the 2022 edition as well. Number 8 belongs to Ari Kunarsson. Ari never managed to win a national title because he competed against a certain Julius, who will make a later appearance on this list. Him finishing second 3 times in the Strongest Man in Iceland competition and 4 times in the Iceland Strongest Man competition is a feat worth mentioning. This consistency got him invited to the World's Strongest Man twice. In 2016 he finished third in his heat behind JF Caron and Lawrence Shahley. In 2017 he was battling Eddie Hall and Mateusz Kieliszkowski for a place in the final. After 5 events he was tied on point with Mateusz. They faced off in the last man standing event, but Ari, after a long fight, ultimately lost to the young Pole. Both these years were held in Botswana, which one would imagine isn't ideal for an Icelander. The only other competitions he's done since then were the 2017 and the 2020 Iceland Strongest Man. He finished third in both. At number 7 we have Thorkild Olsen. In the late 90s when he was competing, he was the biggest competitor, standing in at 6'7" or 201 centimeters, and he was weighing close to 190 kilograms or 420 pounds. He first appeared at the World's Strongest Man in 1995, but he had to pull out due to an injury. In 1996, he finished third in one of the most prestigious contests of the era, the World Muscle Power Championships. In 1997, he won the Iceland Strongest Man competition, which qualified him for that year's World's Strongest Man. At this World's Strongest Man, he made the final, eliminating the reigning World's Strongest Man champion from Iceland, Magnus Magnusson, in the process. In a very close final, he finished just off the podium in 4th place. In the 2 following years, he made the final, finishing both times in 7th place. Despite his great performances on the international level, he didn't manage to win more national titles because of Gunnar Thor. His last season was in the year 2000, when he replaced injured Gunnnar Thor at the World's Strongest Man, but ultimately failed to make the final. He was especially outstanding in the legendary Icelandic Husafell stone carry. At number 6 we have Benni Magnusson. Benni was for a long time regarded as the best deadlifter in the world, holding the world record on multiple occasions. His best strongman deadlift was pulled at the 2016 World Deadlift Championships with a lift of 465 kilos or 1025 pounds. This was a world record before Eddie Hall pulled 500 kg the same night. Benni attempted this weight but failed. At the 2008 Arnold Strongman Classic, Benni managed to pull a 500 kg or 1102 pound world record hammer tire deadlift. He currently still holds the powerlifting world record for a raw deadlift with a lift of 460.4 kg or 1015 pounds. A lot of people consider this to be the most impressive deadlift of all time. He won Iceland's Strongest Man back in 2003 after his brother Magnus won it the year prior. His brother is Magnus Magnusson, not to be confused with Magnus Magnusson. Icelandic names, am I right? Benni also won the Ifsaran Iceland Strongest Man in 2003 and 2004, as well as the Iceland Strongest Viking competition in 2007. He made his only appearance at the World's Strongest Man in 2015, but sadly he had to withdraw due to an injury he suffered during the squat event. His performances were better at the Arnold Strongman Classic. He finished in 5th place in 2006 and 2008, beating the likes of World's Strongest Man winners like Mariusz Pudzianowski and Phil Pfister. Since his strongman days, Benni has leaned down considerably. If you wanna know more, check out his OnlyFans.
What did you say?
link in the description. Coming in at number 5 we have Stefan Solvik Petersson. Stefan's rise in the world of strongman was very quick. At the age of 20 he managed to win his first senior competition, becoming the Iceland strongest Viking for the year 2006. 2 years later he won the 2008 Iceland Strongest Man held by IFSA. The same year he was invited to his first World Strongest Man, but his journey ended in the heats. Same can be said about his 2009 journey as he finished third in his heat. However, it has to be said that he only finished third because he had the two future four-time World Strongest Man champions Brian Shaw and Zydrunas Savickas in his heat. This was a very good season for him as he repeated his win at the Iceland Strongest Viking competition, he won the Iceland Strongest Man and finished on the podium in the 2009 Giants Live Poland. At the 2010 World Strongest Man he qualified for the final behind Brian Shaw, finishing in 4th place after a great performance. This was the best finish of an Icelander since 1997. The same year he won the Iceland Strongest Man competition again and added a podium finish at the 2010 Giants Live Turkey. The following year, after a great performance in a tough heat, he managed to make the final again, but he only finished in 9th place. In 2011 he got diagnosed with a heart condition which forced him to take a break from strongman in early 2012. In 2017 he made his return to World's Strongest Man, but he didn't make it past his heat. Currently, he is only 35 years old, so it isn't out of the question that he can make a comeback. Next on the list we have Hjalmar Arnasson. He was competing in the late 80s and early to mid 90s, and that's why he doesn't get the recognition he deserves. He was always in the shadow of the other great Icelanders of the era. Hjalti never won the title of Iceland's Strongest Man, but he was 3 times second to Jon Pall Sigmarsson and 3 times second to Magnus Magnusson. In his prime, Hjalti was able to go toe-to-toe with anyone. During this time, he was easily one of the best strongmen in the world. One of his most notable victories was the 1988 La Défi Mark X International in Canada, where he beat Magnus Magnusson and Tom McGee. At the 1989 Pure Strength competition he, alongside Magnus Magnusson, were able to beat the American team with Bill Kazmaier and O.D. Wilson. The following year the roles were reversed and the Icelandic duo finished second to the Americans. World's Strongest Man in its early years was an invite-only competition lacking the heats. They rarely invited more athletes from the same country, so Hjalti never got to compete there during his prime. The fact that the other two Icelanders managed to win World's Strongest Man 8 times in a 12-year period only shows how high the standard in Iceland actually was. Hjalti helped to make this standard so high, which shows how good of a competitor he was. The only time he appeared at the World's Strongest Man was in 1996, but he was past his prime and he failed to make the final. Before we get to the top 3, I wanna highlight 2 honorable mentions. These guys can potentially make this list in the near future. The first one is Stefan Karel Torfason. He is the son of Thorfi Olafsson, and at 6'8" or 203 centimeters, he is even taller than his father. Couple of years ago, Stefan made the transition from basketball to strongman, and he managed to win the title of Iceland's Strongest Man this year in 2021, beating Aethor Ingolfsson Melstead. The second honorable mention is the 22-year-old Kristján Haraldson, nicknamed by Magnus Magnusson the Monster Baby. His performances at the 2021 Iceland Strongest Man and the 2021 Magnus Magnusson Classic were impressive. He finished both competitions in 4th place. His goal is to win the world's strongest man one day. These guys are the Icelanders to look for in the coming years. Now let's look at the top 3.
1,005 pounds.
To be alive if you can't do that.
Ever the showman. He really is incredible. Jon Pall Sigmarsson.
Opening the top 3 is Jon Pall Sigmarsson. He is regarded as one of the greatest and most influential strongmen of all time. Him being only number 3 speaks volumes about the quality of strongmen from Iceland. In his first appearance at the World's Strongest Man in '83, he already finished in second place. The following year, he became the youngest World's Strongest Man champion at the age of only 24. He quickly became the fan favorite and the biggest celebrity in Iceland. In 1985, he lost his title to the champion from '83, Jeff Capes. In '86 he came back stronger and reclaimed his title of the world's strongest man. Jon Pall was crowned the Iceland's strongest man 3 years in a row in 1985, '86 and '87, beating both Magnusson and Arnasson. World's strongest man was not held in 1987, however the 3 champions from the early '80s competed in pure strength. Jon Pall came into this competition bigger and stronger than ever, dominating both Kazmaier and Capes, showing that in this period he was unbeatable. The 1988 World's Strongest Man just confirmed this. He beat the 3-time world champion Bill Kazmaier and the up-and-coming Jamie Reeves, winning his 3rd title. At the 1989 World's Strongest Man, Jon Pall came 3rd, behind Wolders and Reeves. In the late 80s and early 90s, he also competed at the very prestigious World Muscle Power Championship. In the 8 times he's competed here, he never missed a podium, winning the competition 5 times. He returned to the highest spot on the podium at the World's Strongest Man in 1990, winning his last World's Strongest Man title. However, this win was not without controversy. The American O.D. Wilson was comfortably leading the competition. The last event, however, was a 200-meter sprint with 100 kilos of bricks on the athletes' backs. O.D., being the bigger man, failed to minimize his losses, losing him the title. Despite his wins at the 1990 and 1992 Iceland Strongest Man, Sigmarsson never again managed to appear at the World's Strongest Man. He passed the torch of the Icelandic number 1 to the younger Magnusson. Among his other achievements is winning the Europe's Strongest Man twice and finishing top 3 in countless other competitions. Unfortunately, his career was cut short. In 1993, when he was training in his gym, he suffered an aortic rupture. He died at the very young age of only 32 years old. However, his legacy is felt to this day. He is one of only 4 men to win the World's Strongest Man 4 times. His funny and charismatic persona is what made many people fall in love with the sport of strongman. A lot of people regard him as the greatest of all time.
Of Iceland!
Some very brave person in the crowd has actually called him an Eskimo. And he's heard that remark all right.
I'm not an Eskimo, I'm a Viking!
Well, they always say that Magnus is just a speed athlete and with, good in the loading and good in running and his fitness, but I think Magnus proved us wrong. He's the best all-round strength athlete in the world.
In the second place, we have another 4-time World's Strongest Man winner, Magnus Magnusson. Magnus started competing in 1985 at the age of 22. His first strongman competition was the Iceland Strongest Man, where he finished third behind Jon Pall and Hjalmar Arnasson. This was the case for the 2 following years as well. He won this competition for the first time in 1988, repeating this victory in 1989. Despite these victories, Jon Pall was the Icelandic representative at the World's Strongest Man. Magnus won the World's Strongest Man title in 91 during his first appearance. The 1992 edition of the World's Strongest Man was held in Iceland. Magnus had a great start to the competition, leading after 4 events, setting the stone press world record in the process. However, the 7-feet-tall Dutchman came back in the next 3 events, and the title came down to the legendary Husafell stone carry. Magnus picked up the stone too high. This pickup constricted his breathing and blocked his vision. He tried to adjust his grip, however the stone slipped. This cost him the win in his home country. He was second to Ted by just 1 point. In the 1993 final he once again failed to reclaim his title, losing to the Welshman Gary Taylor.
Magnus, the end of another world's strongest man. Second last year, second this year. It was very, very close in the end.
That's how it should be. It should come down to the final event, like it did. So I'm pretty pleased with it. Like I said, I have been in better shape, so I'm really pleased with it.
After a very close final in '94, he beat the Austrian Manfred Herbold, winning back his title. The following year, Magnus came back even stronger and dominated the whole competition, winning yet another title of the World's Strongest Man. This domination continued a year later, winning his 3rd title in a row and his 4th overall, tying the record of his fellow Icelander. At the 1997 World's Strongest Man, he failed to qualify for the final, losing to another Icelander, Thorkild Olsen.
What can I say? It's just, it wasn't my day, at least. Not now. But I'm not finished yet.
Sadly, this was the last time he appeared at the World's Strongest Man. Magnus didn't retire but kept competing in lower level competitions, winning his national title in 2001 and 2004. Even in his last competition in 2005, he managed to break a world record in the natural stone press with a lift of 136 kilos or 300 pounds. Magnus is involved with Strongmen to this day, organizing competitions and acting as the head referee at the World's Strongest Man. In 2019, he competed in a show match against Bill Kazmaier at the Giants Live Wembley. Doing the Hercules hold, he showed that his grip strength is still elite.
That guy's a Superman or something, man. I don't know what the Icelanders be eating, but I need to go over there and try some of it, you know what I'm saying? I am the future of strength, and I am king of the stones! Yeah!
Finally, we arrive to number 1, to the best strongman ever from Iceland, to Hafthor Julius Bjornsson. Hafthor's journey in strongman started at Magnus Magnusson's gym Jakabol in 2008. Magnus saw potential in the 20-year-old Icelander. It didn't take long for this potential to show. In 2010, Hafthor participated in the inaugural Jon Pall Sigmarsson Classic organized by Hjalmar Arnasson. This was only his 2nd competition ever, but he managed to beat a number of World's Strongest Man level athletes. He finished in 2nd place, only 1 point behind Brian Shaw. In 2011, he won the Iceland Strongest Man competition, and this win qualified him for his first World's Strongest Man. He made his first final there and finished in 6th place. In 2012, he already made the podium, finishing in 3rd place. During the rest of his career, he never stepped off the podium at World's Strongest Man, always finishing at least 3rd. Hafthor got cast as the Mountain in the Game of Thrones in late 2013. Despite acting distracting him from training, he still managed to improve his position to second in 2014. This was the year when he started dominating the Europe's Strongest Man competition. In 2015, Hafthor once again slid to third place in the final behind Savickas and Shaw. The following year he finished second, missing out on the title by just 2 points. In 2017, Hafthor was once again just short of the title, losing by just 1 point to Eddie Hall. There was a lot of controversy surrounding this final, which led to a long-lasting animosity between Eddie and Thor. After being on the podium 6 years in a row, Hafthor finally won the title of World's Strongest Man in 2018. This win was a part of the most dominant season by any strongman ever. Hafthor won every competition he entered in 2018. This included the World's Strongest Man, the Arnold Strongman Classic, Europe's Strongest Man, the inaugural World Ultimate Strongman competition, and his national title of Iceland's Strongest Man. This dominance continued into 2019 when he won the Arnold Strongman Classic for the second time. He was on his way to win the World's Strongest Man title in 2019 as well, but an injury during the heats hampered his performance and he finished in third place. At the beginning of 2020 he won the Arnold Strongman Classic for the third time. He participated in the World Ultimate Strongman feats of strength, breaking Eddie Hall's deadlift world record with a lift of 501 kilos. After the lift, he declared his intentions to fight Eddie Hall in a boxing match, hinting at his retirement. His last competition was the 2020 Iceland Strongest Man, winning his 10th Iceland Strongest Man title. To illustrate just how dominant Hafthor was in his peak, we can just look at his competition record. From the last 12 competitions he competed in, he won 11. The only competition he didn't win was because he got injured. He retired at the age of 31. With his peak weight of around 208 kilos and his height of 6'9" or 206 centimeters, his build was perfect for strongman. If he didn't choose to retire, he could have been the greatest of all time. In the decade he's been competing, he managed to place at the World's Strongest Man podium 8 times, winning it once. He has won the Arnold Strongman Classic 3 times, as well as 3 Arnold Strongman Classic qualifiers. He has been crowned the Europe's Strongest Man 5 times. He has also won 4 Giants Live events, as well as 8 Strongman Champions League competitions. At the national level, he won the title of Iceland's Strongest Man for a record 10 times, the title of Strongest Man in Iceland 5 times, the Iceland's Strongest Viking and the Westfjord Viking 3 times. He is the best strongman from Iceland. I want to thank you so much for watching. This is the first video I've ever done. I'm aware it's far from perfect, but hopefully you still enjoyed it. If you did, leave a like. If you want to know why I chose the order I did, let me know. Comment and tell me what I can improve on. I'm the Strongman Historian, and hopefully we'll see each other in the next video. See you soon.